The NBA offseason where we get Shams bombs and free agency moves and massive trades every year, but will this year be the craziest? And can the Phoenix Suns take advantage? Welcome on into a trending mini pod for PHNX Suns. I'm Erik and Stephen. As always, we're breaking things down for you from a Suns perspective right here on PHNX Sports. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you're listening on audio, 5-star reviews go a long way. Stephen, safe to say that even before some recent reporting that we got from Charania and Jake Fischer, that we knew this offseason was going to be a pretty wild one.
Yeah, a lot of teams with a lot to be desired, and a lot of teams with the time that's ticking in terms of their window to win. So a lot of urgency, yeah.
And that's also coming off of a season where we saw a ton of stars already get moved, right? You saw De'Aaron Fox move teams. You saw Karl-Anthony Towns and Julius Randle move teams at the beginning of the season. Like, you saw Luka get traded in the middle of the season. So many different big names have already been moved. You think to yourself, well, how can it get crazier? Well, this is how. Jake Fischer says this is going to be a crazy summer. That's what one Western Conference executive told him. There's going to be a lot of movement. Shams is predicting this offseason might be the craziest in NBA history. This is the most anticipation I think team executives have had for over an offseason. I think this offseason might be the most craziest ever. Because not only do we know, Stephen, that Kevin Durant is most likely on the table for the Suns, you're also looking at Giannis. What is Nico Harrison going to do with the number 1 overall pick, or the Spurs, or the 76ers with their high picks they might be trying to move on? When I ask you the question, how can the Phoenix Suns take advantage of this crazy summer, of this crazy offseason, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Get your own ducks in a row first. You can't go making splash moves or entertaining, latching yourself on to someone else doing that type of business if you don't have your head coach solved and in a way that you are confident with going forward. They obviously did what they did with the front office, shifting of furniture and whatnot. So they got that part squared away. You need to get the head coach part squared away, and then you can start to entertain those conversations.
I think the biggest thing they can take advantage of, because I agree with you, you got to get your own ducks in a row for anything, but that still leaves a lot on the table for when it comes to free agency and trades and whatnot. I think that when all of the NBA is expecting massive changes, massive shifts, it plays in the Suns' favor because the Suns have to change, right? The Suns have to go into this next season differently than they did this past one, whether they're keeping KD or not. There needs to be movement, and that might help unlock a potential Bradley Beal trade. It also might help you find a better location for Kevin Durant, or able to get maybe a different returner package than if it was only going to be 1 or 2 teams. Stephen, do you think it plays more into the Suns' favor when it comes to taking advantage of this crazy offseason to go and snag an already established veteran player to pair alongside Devin Booker in whatever trade, or does it make it easier to maybe get some more draft capital maybe this year or in future years?
Well, when I say ducks in a row, that's every bit of it. Obviously, head coach first, but then also you have choices. If Durant is on the table because he wants to go elsewhere, you can go the route of picks and nobody will be mad at you. You could also go the route of adding more win-now type of talent around and no one will be mad at you. You can also go for a hybrid of both. You can get a little bit of one and a little bit of the other in whatever way you might think from most teams that you're going to be entertaining those conversations with. So that's where it gets interesting. That's why there's no clear-cut route, but it's why they have to do their business and do their diligence prior to this party getting started at the end of the finals.
And there's also the chance that with Giannis potentially getting moved, that you can sneak in and be another player in a really big deal in the modern CBA with the new restrictions on the second apron and trades and moving, plus mixing that in with some teams that disappointed in the playoffs, whether it is a Cleveland Cavaliers team or the Milwaukee Bucks, or even in the Western Conference, Denver, I know, had very high expectations. What are the Clippers going to do? Houston Rockets, of course, at the top of that list as well. The Spurs missing the playoffs entirely. What are they going to do? You now open up a bunch of different types of salary that you can go and you can match. And for the Suns, who are a second apron team, you've got to be under or you have to match exactly. And if you're going into an offseason where only 1 or 2 or maybe 3 other teams are looking to make some major changes, that makes it a lot harder to find some sort of salary and value that matches up with what you're trying to send out.
Yeah, and that's the probably the biggest speed bump in everything is that there's aprons everywhere.
Yeah.
And those aprons are not the aprons that are suggesting that somebody's cooking, because those aprons hold you back from cooking, actually, on the transaction side. So teams trying to figure out that part in respect to their context. I think Boston is going to be a team that plays into that as well, another second apron team. Everybody's trying to figure out how can they duck aprons and give themselves more flexibility. I think the Suns will be a team that does that. Obviously, one of the biggest dominoes in that is Bradley Beal. But I have a question for you. So
hit me.
What if, and this is just a what if Giannis chose Kevin Durant as the player he wants the Bucks to figure out how to bring to Milwaukee if he is going to be staying in Milwaukee?
That's I'll stay if. Kind of the same thing with Dame.
It's the ultimatum.
Right? I'll stay if.
And to that point, the reverence that Giannis has had for Kevin Durant has been unignorable. He said he's one of the all-time greats. He had him in his top 5, I believe, when he was recently asked on Twitter about his top 5 players in the history of the game. I think KD was like 4th or something like that. So talk about reverence, talk about wanting to keep your homegrown talent at home. Just curious, just thinking about those little things. It makes it's almost an impossible ask.
I haven't thought about the Bucks as a potential trade partner. Now, Kevin Durant making $54,708,609. And I believe Damian Lillard is making slightly above that. Oh, but the trade would be successful. Damian Lillard's making slightly less. So to make the money work, you could trade Kevin Durant for Damian Lillard, and they have a lot of draft picks. You can get Milwaukee's 2026 first round pick, New Orleans 2026 first round pick, New Orleans 2027 first round pick as a swap. You can get another Milwaukee first in 2028, another Milwaukee first in 2030. You can get a Portland first in 2030, and then you can get another Milwaukee first in 2031. You could get a total of 6 first round picks in a pick swap. And plus, you can also get the second round pick in this year's draft, because you're also taking on a Damian Lillard. Now, to get outside of that, if you want to take Damian Lillard off of this, you'd have to be looking at a player like, I don't even think it's possible. Nope, it's not possible without, because it's all expiring contracts with options for Bobby Portis, Kevin Porter, Pat Connaughton. So it would have to be, the Suns would have to basically say, we're tanking this next year. You're going to have to go the non-competitive path, because then you're going to have over $100 million in Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard, alongside with Devin Booker. One of those injured, another one the fan base doesn't want him to play, right? You're going to need all 7 of those first round picks if you're going purely draft capital. But I guess it is possible, technically. But even beyond KD going to the Bucks with that amount of salary moving on, it also might open up Bradley Beal, and
that's what I was going to get to next.
So maybe Bradley Beal is the person where if Giannis is getting sent out of Milwaukee and they want to bring picks in, Steven, then they can take on Bradley Beal the same way the Suns would take on Dame in that previous scenario.
And that's where things get interesting, because if they get more picks than they do actual players, or even young talent for that matter, if it's more pick heavy, that should give them more options with how they want to go about the Beal situation. Yeah. First thing first, obviously, giving them away with the no trade clause. Yeah. Then the second step is, if you have to attach a pick, are you willing to do that? Which one is it? And, the machinations from there. But point being, getting the ducks in a row. These are all what I'm speaking to when I say get the ducks in a row. There's obviously a priority list, a prioritization list within that, but these are the steps.
So let's get to prediction time. The 2 teams that will have the most change from last season or this current season to next season this summer will be?
The Phoenix Suns will be one of those teams.
Okay. And?
I'll go on a limb and I'll say Houston.
Houston. Okay. I like it. I think Houston's a good option. I would throw in Milwaukee. I would throw in Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn has a chance to really try to change their trajectory this offseason. They got a lot of picks and cap space to throw around. You know what? Not a name mentioned a ton. Denver, possibly. I know they're talking about running it back and they're not that far away, but I could see them shifting their core makeup.
They need everything. They need it outside of their top 4 players. They need it.
Is there a dark horse team that might try to change a lot? Like a New York Knicks who's in the Eastern Conference Finals? Is it a San Antonio, right? Trying to shift things next to Victor Wembanyama?
Dark horse team?
To change a lot this summer.
Dallas.
That number one pick for KD.
Number one
really
pick.
juicy.
Well, just having a number one pick
Yeah.
coming in is already a big shift. But I think they might be in the market for some more shifting in addition to the number one pick. So
well, when things shift, we'll be here for you right here on PHNX Sports with PHNX Suns. Go ahead and follow the show at PHNX_Suns. You can follow Steven. Don't call him Steve. That's Steven PG3. That's Steven with a PH. You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. We are live 5 days a week doing 2025 NBA draft comparisons, breakdowns, analysis for the Suns, whether they trade up, whether they stay there, every possible draft scenario, we have you covered. We're doing Free Agent Fridays, Trade Machine Tuesdays. We are having all sorts of fun in an offseason that probably was not supposed to be fun. Of course, the Suns are on the precipice of hiring their next head coach. We'll have a breaking news podcast and all of the coverage you could possibly imagine for that right here on PHNX Sports. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll talk to you all later this week and next week.